High honor Arthur is a lie. Redemption doesn't happen with the weight of these sins.
You speak as if killing was something I cared about.
Whether you focus on cutscenes or include player time, there's no arguing that Arthur is a bad man. How can you justify his actions? How can you justify what this man says?
You ever wonder about eternity? Should.
I hope it's hot and terrible, Mrs. Downs. Otherwise, I'll feel I've been sold a false bill of goods. Now, please, give me that money.
And how can you justify this ending no matter the honor? Today, we are looking at Arthur's decisions and what he would choose in the end.
Take this. And this. And get out of here. I'll see you around, John Marston. Dutch. Micah. Come and get me, you bastard.
I rise to the top. I cannot be stopped. I stand unshaken.
Any luck? I found a place where we can get some shelter. Let Davy rest while he... You know. An old mining town. Abandoned. It ain't far. Come on. Come on!
We are introduced into a very complex character in Chapter 1, but there are a few things that are obviously clear. He cares about the gang, and he cares about what's going on. In fact, the first words that we hear from Arthur Morgan is asking Dutch about his actions, even though we don't have the context for it
Hey,
yet.
I ain't had time to ask. What really went down back there on that boat? We missed you. That's what happened. Come on.
This feeling was amplified when we went and found Sadie, and we get context and juxtaposition with the different characters that go on this mission. It was then that I started to feel not only did Arthur care, but he was also loyal. He was very loyal, to the point where putting himself in danger was not even a second thought. Arthur Morgan is loyal to a fault. It's in this moment that we are introduced into the trio from hell.
There's a corpse right here.
Now, I just
Arthur,
need some...
there's a body
cans of food
in the wagon.
or something.
I hear you. Just
Gentlemen,
keep your eyes on Dutch.
please.
That trio is Micah, Dutch, and Arthur. When I was playing Arthur, I felt righteous. I felt level-headed, especially in comparison to Micah, who was obviously different.
Oh, look what I found in the cellar! Wild thing, ain't ya?
Leave her alone.
I wasn't doing nothing.
He's hot-tempered and does some questionable things. Despite this, he is still part of the gang, and Dutch is the bridge between them both. And Arthur's loyalty is not without answer. It's very apparent that Arthur is highly valued within the gang.
Mr. Morgan, we put you in a room over here.
Thank you, Miss Grimshaw.
Mr. Bell, you're with the fellas over there.
What? How come Arthur gets a room and I get a bunk bed next to Bill Williamson and a bunch of darkies?
There is a part of Chapter 1 that makes Arthur's morality confusing. He almost sidesteps saving John Marston, but the reason why he does this is important to know for the magnitude of his story.
He's got himself caught into a scrape
He
again.
ain't been seen in two days.
Your John will be fine.
Hosea has to butt in to make Arthur go look for John. It turns out the reason for this relates significantly to how loyal Arthur is to the gang. And the story is that earlier in the gang, John left for a year. And Arthur is a little bit skeptical of John now.
You probably only run off again.
Why are you so interested in my life? Ain't you got one of your own?
It shows that for Arthur, this gang is everything. And I really want to highlight this because this is the driving force that makes everything in Arthur's life possible. Arthur has done a lot of things in his life, things that we don't even really see in the game. One of the most heartbreaking things in this game to me is the story of Eliza and Isaac. If you don't know who Eliza is, Arthur Morgan met her as a waitress. They had a one-night stand, and she became pregnant. She was only 19 when she had Isaac. The thing that makes this so heartbreaking is something that we learn as Arthur is telling the story to Rain Falls. Arthur did what he could for these two, but he was not a part of their lives per se. He would stop by every few months, and he tells Rain Falls the story of stopping by the last time. You can hear the pain in Arthur's voice.
She was too, I guess. Just a kid, 19. What happened? I got there one day and saw two crosses outside. I knew right away. Turned out some bastards had come through. Robbed them and shot them dead. And offered $10. Hardened me. Feeling that kind of pain. But I know now that you don't get to live a bad life and have good things happen to you.
As far as story goes, let alone games, this is nothing short of gut-wrenching tragedy. Because here he is, an outlaw himself, going in and robbing people, killing people. I said you can look at these things in two ways, with purely cutscenes and the actual story, or with what the player does. But either way you look at it, if you loot 99% of the people in this game, your honor will go down, and in only rare cases will it be more than a few dollars.
Also killed a bunch of innocent folk, I don't know why.
What's wrong with you, Arthur?
I just get so angry about everything, about how this is gonna end.
Well, it'll only end well if you keep your mind, Arthur. We need you.
And the only way to really get big money in this game is to steal it. Money is a crucial aspect of the gang's livelihood. So it's no wonder that the gang resorts to robbing trains and doing bank heists. But there is another way to make big money, and that's why Vanderlyn keeps Strauss around. Arthur is not Pearson. Arthur is a heavyweight within the gang, and they know this. Arthur grew up designed to be a killing machine. Everyone in the gang has their roles, and Arthur does his quite well. Strauss isn't the most honorable man himself, and in fact most of everybody in the gang rob people. But Strauss does it in a little bit more of a sophisticated way, and he uses Arthur as the muscle for that. And when Arthur shows up, he's not just tough, he's downright cruel.
How did you get on, Herr Morgan?
Called in on the smallholder, Roble. Didn't even speak English.
Good, very good.
My pleasure.
Well, if it's pleasure you're after, there is one other. This farmer preacher fellow I met in Valentine, Mr. Down.
For many people, these missions are the worst things that Arthur does. In a very symbolic and metaphorical way, this is where Arthur Morgan goes simply too far. These missions are the cause of Arthur getting tuberculosis and ultimately are the reason why he dies in the end. Arthur's activities often result in people's deaths, but this one reminds me of Isaac and Eliza. Arthur doesn't go as far as to murder this man. However, this mission is part of a chain of missions called money lending and other sins. And this is only the third one. It goes up to 5 where he does kill people. Not only was Arthur not around for Eliza and Isaac, but he has gone into people's houses and killed them for money. And in my opinion, not enough money to justify the actions. That's a pretty tough thing to live with. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people that say high honor is canon and high honor Arthur is the only way to play. But how much does high honor really mean when you can absolve your sins just by saying hello to people in Saint Denis all day? And it goes both ways. If you kill somebody by self-defense, you might not lose honor. But if you loot them, for sure you're gonna lose honor. So it's not killing that's losing honor, it's the robbing. As far as a realistic moral conversation goes, just having a white bar isn't good enough. So let's talk about honor in general. Your honor goes down if you do bad deeds, and it goes up if you do good deeds. And I think from most of the discourse I see online, people generally consider that the canon version of events is that Arthur Morgan is low honor most of the game, up until he gets hit with this news.
Can I help you?
I need a doctor.
Oh, just 1 second, sir.
Come in, pal. Come in.
What is it?
It's not good news.
I guess that.
You got tuberculosis. Really sorry for you, son. It's a hell of a thing.
What you mean?
You're real sick. It's a progressive disease, and you'll be... Now, the best thing is rest, and getting somewhere warm and dry, and taking it easy. Now, is that possible?
And then he changes his ways. It sounds like he was reluctant to change till he was faced with danger. But if you actually look at the story, I don't think it's like that. I think he's actually rattled to the core. I think he's actually reflecting, and I think he has been reflecting this entire time in the story. Now, there's a few differences between the high honor run and the low honor run, and these get more drastic after you have tuberculosis. The way that Arthur talks about himself in low honor is more of a man who understands that he is damned, almost as if he is hopeless about his condition. But the Arthur that has high honor is a different Arthur. He's a man who has hope. And the important thing that you can get out of how he talks about himself in high honor isn't that he's trying to reconcile these actions that he's done in his life. He isn't trying to make them okay. More so, he's trying to learn from them and be a good man with what he has left. You can hear the difference in thoughts after he gets tuberculosis.
Don't make me beg you, Arthur.
Who made you the messiah to these lost souls?
And you've as good as killed him yourself.
You will die, savagely, all of you. Turned into a bunch of killers, I mean it.
It feels like our luck has turned. No, I ain't turning back.
This is the first time that Arthur is really confronting his mortality. He knows he's going to die. And listen to the difference between low honor and high honor.
We can't change what's done. We can only move on.
You have it in you, I can tell.
He didn't have a choice. He was good and he did good. I understand if you don't want to help me, but I think of you often.
If we don't stop soon, we'll all be dying.
I sometimes wonder if things was ever the way we remembered them. If we were ever who we thought we was.
That saying is super important, whoever we really thought we were. And although when you compare side by side a high honor and a low honor cutscene, they're basically the same. We're getting Arthur's inner thoughts. He says he's a bad man. He sees himself in a certain light. And the main difference that I see in his attitude towards himself is low honor Arthur just accepts it. Meanwhile, one of his inner thoughts in high honor is John talking about how they weren't really who they thought they were, and how he should just learn from the past and be who he is right now. And although I am not sold that Arthur can just absolve decades worth of misdeeds and wrongdoings, he can, however, start today. And it's at this point in the video that I'm going to stop talking about high honor and low honor as an actuality, but I'm going to recognize it for what it is, a game mechanic, and that the true honor scale of Arthur Morgan probably looks a little bit different in actuality. Arthur does do a few things differently as he goes on. In fact, the Downs family has a whole story arc of their own. In chapter 2, we try to get their debt. Thomas Downs dies from tuberculosis in that chapter. And in chapter 3, Arthur returns to collect the last loan from Edith. This makes her and her son have to pack up and leave their homestead and start a new life elsewhere. And she becomes a prostitute in Saint Denis, Arthur recognizing her.
Hey, you want some company, mister?
No.
You sure?
Hey,
What?
I don't know you. This is Downs?
Oh, no. Not you. Get away.
How?
Now.
I mean, hey.
Help! Help!
Hold on.
This man is bothering
Now.
me. Someone help me. Officer, help!
The symbolism of Arthur picking up a cross right before he meets her is something that is very easily overlooked, and in fact I didn't catch it until making this video. In almost every way, Mrs. Downs, this situation that he's come across, is Arthur's burden to bear. It is his cross to carry. She later moves to Annesburg, and Arthur finds her there.
Well, this country is man unleashed. That's the thing, and it ain't my fault any more than it's anyone else.
Man unleashed? Then unleash goodness. Not just hell's feeble brothers, sir.
But how? I mean, all I know how to do is fight, I guess. I was set free to fight. Where's your son, Mrs. Downs?
Where you think? Down the mine. Until he gets sick. Which won't be long, given how hard they work him. See, foremen don't like him, so he gets the worst of it.
Maybe I could go.
Well, maybe you could just leave us all alone. Maybe you could just go fight some other battle.
After hearing the news from Mrs. Downs, we go and find her son in the mines. And Arthur does something heroic.
Who's this, your daddy?
My daddy died. And this man, he killed him. What are you doing here?
Leave the boy alone.
Why'd you kill his daddy? You after his mama?
Stop bullying the boy.
Get out of my business, mister.
Leave the boy alone.
Or what?
Or I'll kill you too.
You couldn't kill no one. Look at you, all ragged and sick and weak. Clear off, you goddamn hermit. Clear off! You and the horse son here.
Now who's next? Let the boy go. Let him go! Come with me. Shame on you. He's just a goddamn boy! Let's get you out of here.
They're gonna kill me. Now I got no job and they're gonna kill me.
I've got some money. You and your mama can go someplace nice.
Well, why are you doing this?
I don't know. Listen, take this. All of it. Try and talk to your mama and get out of here. Now run.
I'll try.
Good boy. I don't want to see you here again.
Then again, you do not have to do this. This is not part of the main story. And of the choices you do have to make, if you just wait and let the game decide for you, it almost always chooses low honor. If you pair that with the fact that most people get their high honor from saying hello to people in Saint Denis, it raises an interesting argument. Is low honor actually canon? There are 4 different endings for Red Dead Redemption 2. If you have high honor, you can go back for the money or you can go help John. And either way, you see a sunset. However, you can also have low honor and do the same. But both times for low honor, you will not have a sunset. And this is where I think that one of the biggest problems in the game comes from. Micah Bell is there in each cutscene, and I would like to look specifically at helping John. If you do end up helping John, it really is an incredible moment. Arthur tells Dutch,
I gave you all I had. I did.
which is absolutely heartbreaking because it's true. But Micah Bell, of all people, the guy who blew up all of Strawberry, the guy that ratted the gang out, he is now looking down at Arthur. And Arthur is the one that is separating Micah from the Blackwater money. And Micah just chooses to walk away, allowing Arthur to watch a sunset. Now, this doesn't sound like the character of Micah. When you have low honor, Micah comes up and shoots you in the face. But in high honor, something compels Micah to just walk away. And it doesn't seem like that would be the most realistic thing. But we are talking about the fate and destiny of Arthur Morgan. As I said, there's a lot of choices in this game. But one thing that is not debatable is that Arthur wants John to go and be with his family.
Listen to me. When the time comes, you gotta run and don't look back.
This is against Arthur's loyalty to the gang, and John has his own character arc that I just did a huge video on. But his arc goes from not really wanting his family to abandoning everything for them. And Arthur not only encourages that, but wants the entire gang to disperse. And I think regardless of what the player chooses, this right here, the fact that Arthur cares about the gang enough to disband it, that Arthur cares enough about John to let him go. This is the secret to Arthur Morgan's high honor. This is the secret to Arthur Morgan's destiny. I think the fact that Micah Bell walks away is one of the most mysterious moments in the game, especially when you take into account his character. But maybe divine intervention comes into play, purely on the fact that we are introduced to Arthur in a way that symbolizes how loyal he is to the gang. And at the end of it, he cares about people so much that he's willing to let everyone go. And maybe he hasn't absolved all of his sins. Maybe he doesn't have the highest honor that a man could have. But the honor that he does have, just for this one act of letting the gang go, is important enough to grant him one last sunrise.